Hi, this is Daniel Rosen from theScore eSports, and I'm here at Canada Cup with EG's PPD. And I guess I just want to start by asking you, what are you doing here? This is a fighting game tournament. What's up?
Yeah, it's my first fighting game tournament I've ever been to. Taking on a new kind of role at EG as like the managing director, so I haven't been able to meet really the fighting game players. They don't really go to the same events that the Dota players go to, so I'm out here just to meet the guys and hang out and kind of see what the fighting game scene is all about.
So could you describe a little bit about what your new role at EG is as managing director? Like, what are you going to be up to?
Sure. So I kind of touch bases with everything. That's something I've always been good at, is being a facilitator, even as like a captain in Dota. That was one of my strengths. So my job is pretty similar. I'm just making sure that everyone's in the right place, doing what they need to be doing at the right time, and just to keep everything smooth and keep the brand moving forward.
Right. So, kind of speaking of that, you kind of retired from the Dota team relatively recently. When did you kind of tell the team about your decision?
Well, it was a team decision. A lot of us are. Sorry. Yeah, no, it's cool. Let's see. So we had a talk right after TI, and that was like when we kind of figured out what we wanted to do for the next year, and everyone kind of agreed that maybe it would be best for me, at least for now, to take a step back from playing and follow like into this more like business-centric role. And it was something I've been excited for. It's been something I've been pushing for a long time. I was just able to continue playing, but now that I'm taking on the role in a more full-time position, it would be unfair for me to split time between running the business and captaining the Dota team.
And what about for you? Kind of what was the impetus for you in your decision there?
I've always thought about the business side of things. I've always been very forward-thinking. I think that I was presented with a really unique and great opportunity, so I'm just going to go with it now. People kind of throw around the word retired, and I don't necessarily agree with it. I think I'm just doing what I think is best for me right now. And I might come back and play. I never really officially retired, so I'm still I still play Dota like almost every day that I can, and I'm still really good in my opinion. So who's to know what will be in the future, but for now I'm just taking advantage of this other opportunity.
You're probably better than I'm still losing to like bot Lenas, so so kind of how do you feel about EG's and the current Dota team then? How do you feel about the new roster?
Yeah, the new roster, well, they're doing really well. They went to their first tournament and they won. They also shot like a documentary with Valve, and they were very good on camera, and like that's obviously like really good for sponsors and things like that. So that was nice to see. They seem to be really kind of owning it with their new team. They got a bunch of tournaments coming up next month in November. They're actually coming back out here for the Canada Cup, but I think it's in Montreal, not Toronto. So that'll be fun to see how they do here. Me taking a step back, it was kind of worrisome to think how maybe our new captain Crit would perform. Being a captain is not an easy job, but the guys really like him, and he seems to be handling the stress that it requires to be a captain.
So speaking of Crit, how do you feel about kind of the difference in how does he differ as a captain from you, and kind of how do you feel about how he's fitting into the role?
I think he's a little more laid back than I was. I think I was very like authoritative and like not like dictator, but like I was pretty a strong personality, and I think he's more kind of easygoing. But he also, I've seen him, he's capable of like really taking things seriously. And I know that like Artur and Zai and Sumail and stuff, they all really get along with him. So I think that's something that's really important too. And I don't think they bash heads as much as I used to do with like Sumail, for example, and Artur. But things could change. I mean, winning is great, and they won their first tournament, so they're on top of the world. Hopefully they can just ride out that feeling through the major.
So speaking of, I think staying competitive in North America, something that's been coming up a lot lately, I think particularly with the kind of what happened recently with Pro Dota in the NA qualifiers. Do you think that there is something about like North American Dota that keeps it from being quite as competitive? Is there something that can change or has to change there?
I think it's just the personalities and the players more than anyone. You see like teams that have stuck together, like Complexity, and teams that are really dedicated to each other, like NP and FDL. Like FDL is a great example. A lot of those guys are some of the token NA players that you wouldn't really think, that just kind of hop around rosters and don't really do any well. But then you see FDL, a team that kind of stopped hopping around and committed to a roster for more than 2 months. And they're putting up pretty good results, and they may or may not qualify for the majors. We'll have to wait and see.
how do you kind of feel personally then about what Pro Dota did in moving, trying to play in the NA qualifiers instead of Europe?
I think it's okay. I think it definitely punishes all of these players that are constantly swapping rosters and aren't as good as they probably should be. I think it's kind of weird that teams were able to compete in the European qualifier and then lose and then go play NA qualifier. Just like, okay, tonight we're pulling an all-nighter, guys. We're staying up late. So that was kind of silly, but I'm sure Valve will address that for the next qualifier.
All right, and going back to you, you said you're kind of moving into role as managing director. What are your career goals now that you have this position? Maybe you go back to it at some point, but kind of where do you see yourself going right now?
I'm pretty committed to EG. I think that this is kind of where where I'll be for 5, who knows, 10 years. So I'm excited to continue to like further the brand and just see where esports goes and hopefully keep EG on top.
All right, and just one last thing. You're here at a fighting game event. I'm not sure if you have a lot of fighting game history. Maybe you do. Do you have a favorite Street Fighter character?
I actually don't have a favorite Street Fighter character. I haven't played since like forever, like at like an arcade or something. So I'm hoping to learn the game a bit by watching and maybe pick out a couple characters I want to try when I start playing on my own.
All right, well, man, good luck with that, and thanks so much for your time.